Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show something that's going to give you a better understanding conceptually of what I'm talking about. So when I'm throwing a punch, whether I'm throwing it straight like this, or I'm throwing it on an angle, or whatever the case may be, or even if it's kind of an arcing motion, still there's a general direction of where that punch is coming from that people can feel if they train themselves to recognize it soon enough. That's where I talk about all that embodied cognition stuff, where you're recognizing stuff, and then through adumbration you see it soon enough where you're getting kind of the glimpse of the future, and you're just getting out of the way. But one of the things that happens is, again, people in the martial arts, whether they're doing different styles of blocking, I don't care what it is you do, your arm still works the same way. A guy who does karate, your arm works the same way as a guy who does Wing Chun or Bagua or Xing Yi, or a guy who does Taekwondo. Your arm is your arm. Same thing with grappling. Whether I'm grabbing somebody in jiu-jitsu or Western wrestling, I know what a wrist grab is like, regardless of what system, because we're all human, right? So I try to get away from that stuff because I think people make it more complex than it has to be. So if I'm throwing a punch, don't move. If I'm throwing this punch, even though my arm obviously has got a bend to it, the direction of the strike is relatively straight. For Anthony to deal with the strike, bring one of your hands up and just touch my hand so people can see this. He only needs to move offline just enough to make me miss. And at high speed, even if he gets grazed by the strike, it's not going to have really an effect on him. I mean, unless I got like a weapon, like a blade or something, it's not going to affect him at all. I mean, heck, a lot of times you stub your toe harder than that, which is not a fun experience, right? So I'm going to use this stick so you can see this. So what I'm doing is, this is the magic stick of death, because everything in Warrior Flow is all about the death, right? So with the magic stick of death, and I kind of line it up like I'm playing pool here, and what I'm doing is you just bring your hand up and touch the stick. You can see now, imagine the stick is the alignment of the strike, the direction of the strike. As the strike is coming in, notice he's moving just enough, and he's only applying enough force against it to change the vector to ensure it goes past him and he clears it. Notice as he's doing this though, he's maintaining positive contact with the stick or the direction of the strike, but he's not pushing with a lot of force, because remember, his whole body's also turning. So his mass is actually behind that. If he wants to really push it away, just slowly push it away with your hand, he can do that. And he can get away with that, because it's still attached to his body. His body is still, technically, it's still making adjustments. This idea that, you gotta rotate with everything, with a full rotation to strike with power, is nonsense, because people who throw jabs, when I throw a jab, I'm not over rotating. I'm turning my hips and shoulders just enough to be able to line that thing up and to send you off into oblivion. So it's the same thing. So as he's dealing with this, as I'm throwing this strike, and he makes contact, he only needs enough force, whatever that is, and only he can feel that for himself, just to redirect it. In other words, he's evading for the purpose of getting rid of it without giving up his body. He's moving as little as he needs to clear it. This is an important thing, because the more you can learn how to do that and control your body, this is why in Warrior Flow we're so focused on developing people's bodies, almost to an nth degree, because we realize the more we can develop a person's body, the easier it is for them to make techniques work, versus thinking that there's some magic in some technique, which is just totally wrong. So even if I'm just going to change the angles for people to see. Even if I'm bringing it on these weird angles, clear it any way you want. You can even do stuff like this. I mean, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that he moves his body first. He moves well, or as efficient as he can, where he's not moving more than what is necessary or applying more force than what is necessary. And then he just ends it as quickly as possible. We're not in a sport of competition. We're not doing rounds. He's trying to end it as quickly as possible. And so again, you can use the other hand too. As this is coming in, I'll go slow so people can see this. He doesn't need a lot of movement. Now notice here, you can see clearly the rotation, and there's a slight push I can feel against the stick. But notice He's just making me barely miss, because whether I miss by this much, or this little, I still missed. And that's all that matters. And so as you're practicing and using your hands and doing things, and I'll stand kind of off the side, you can see, as I'm throwing these strikes, now you can see the relationship. Now you can see as he's changing his body position, he's clearing what I'm doing, but he's moving as little as he needs, and it's now compensating for my reach advantage. So yeah, even though my hand got through here, I'll go slow. I tried to clear his hand, but because he turned his body and I was using so much force, my hand basically slid right past his arm. And because he can feel my arm doing that, he doesn't have to wait till I get all the way over here. Just hit me as soon as you can. He can just start hitting, because the moment he feels he's cleared it, he doesn't need to move a lot. One of the things in Warrior Flow that I do all the time when I'm working with people, you know, it's like sometimes I'll be working and I'll do something like this and I'll just inadvertently change, and people, what the heck, why'd you change? Well, it's because they defeated what I was doing. Now, whether they recognize they defeated it or not, you know, in a real fight, that's not my problem. And so as I'm throwing this strike, I already feel him defeating. I already know from this angle, hopefully you can see this on camera, that's not going to work at speed. But because I have control of my body and I work on my body, as soon as I feel, I'm like, you know what, that don't work for me. And then I'm going to tool replace here. Why am I tool replacing? Because if I just take my hand off to hit with either hand, he's going to slug me, because my hand's got to move too far of a distance to compensate for the fact that he's closer, he can hit me. Some people say, well, how can he generate power from that? I don't know. Because I got to tell you, if I'm standing that close and I hit you in the windpipe with a chop, it's probably going to mess your singing voice up. That's all I'm saying. So as I'm throwing the strike, right, I don't want this. I don't want to go like this and get that. So I'm going to clear it, but I'm not going to push it away either, because why? I don't want to get hammer fisted on the other side of the face either. So I'm going to stop, and then as soon as I do that, I'm just going to get at it, and I'm just going to start wailing, and I'm trying to move in a way as efficiently as possible based on what I feel going on, not some guessing, because I never guess, to hit. So as I pushed, what happened? I gave up my arm because I was trying to push with so much force. I overcommitted, and I ended up getting, you know, jacked in the jaw. Now I got hit there, and then there's the uppercut. That doesn't work for me either. Why? As I pushed, as he changed, so what's going on? So I make sure I cover this. He's now subconsciously, because we work and fight all the time, he's playing off of my body. He can actually feel what I'm doing. And because he feels this relationship, see what his shoulder did right there? It's not that his shoulder came in because he needed to get loose for the sake of getting loose. No, he's lining, boom, he's lining that thing up. The only reason you even see his shoulder doing all that is because he's not hitting you with an uppercut as fast and as hard as he could. Because if he dropped into it, you know, then the video ends there, maybe some other things. So as I'm pushing, oh, that's going to suck. Now let's say this hits me and it doesn't have the effect, but look how close his hands are to my head versus my hands having to maybe reach up and hit him. Because people say, why can't you turn and hit? Shoot. But you think, oh, I'm sorry. But you think he can just can't do that? He wants me to try those things because he knows intuitively in that position, I don't have enough time to accomplish anything else. It's not that I don't know what to do about it. I don't have enough time to accomplish it. So when you're working, when you're practicing your skills of how to clear things, you want to learn and you want to practice getting as efficient with your hands as possible, learning how to clear things by moving your body first. And then as you're feeling whatever is going on, just getting into the habit of clearing things. So what he's doing here is a technique called tool replacement. And that's because he's replacing one tool here with another tool to get rid of my hands. In doing so, now as I'm pushing, he's actually guiding my hand as I'm trying to push whatever I'm trying to hit, using his arm to his other hand to clear it. But notice there's a transition right in here. Notice how close his hands are to my hand, but also notice how little movement he needs in here to clear that. So even if this hand is here to block, this is a hard block to stop. Somebody's trying to hit you across the windpipe with all their might while your body's going in the wrong direction. It's just a hard thing to do. So as I'm moving here, so he feels me trying to hit here. So notice what he's doing. He's already rotated his body. Now let's notice what he did. This is light touch. He's not pushing, but I can actually feel, oh yeah, so I can feel him already guiding my hand past him to make sure I continue in the direction he wants me to go. Because basically what he's doing now is, as he's feeling this, as he's getting offline, he's creating the space in here. Don't move, please, so I can, right in here. He's creating the space he needs for me to step into so that I run into his strikes. Whereas now, because I'm moving forward into it, it's just harder for me to get out of the way. So even if I recognize I'm caught, I can't get out, and I only got hit. I can't get out of the way fast enough. I mean, if you got that kind of speed, you don't need anybody's stuff because you're a Flash. So as I'm doing this, and I'm just trying to stay in here fighting, this is the reason why in Warrior Flow, why we're so big on using deception. Once he makes contact with my hands, he knows where my hands are, no matter how we make that contact, whether I'm throwing strikes. But I know that. So as soon as I feel him starting to change, that's where I start using deception to get around his skill. Because of the fact that, in a real fight, anybody can, get lucky and pretty much kill anyone. So I'm not sitting around playing games trying to figure out what he knows. All I know is I can feel what he's doing. I decide, you know what, this doesn't work for me. And I need deception to get past whatever is going on, because without the deception, it's hard for me to make stuff work once we're in contact, because he feels exactly what I'm doing. So hopefully in these 2 videos, I kind of clarified some things for some folks, because I was asked these questions before about clearing things. And in a future video, I'll probably get into a little more about how my masters used kind of what people call ghosting. We call it shadow movement in Warrior Flow, because it's a more accurate reflection of what's going on. But basically, because he can viscerally feel where I am relative to his body, that allows me to move as if we're already physically touching, to start moving sooner, to get beyond the fact that his body is changing in ways where he's always shifting, turning, pocketing, whatever the case may be, or redirecting my hand, making it almost impossible for me to land a good shot on him.